Under the moonlit riverbank, a mysterious man with long ears and an otherworldly aura arrived at a manor, offering his medical expertise for the night. The manor's owner, intrigued and desperate, sought the man's help to examine his newborn child. The diagnosis was grim. The child would not live past 20, afflicted by ascension, a fatal condition tied to excessive energy flow through the crown acupoint. The owner, overwhelmed with disbelief and guilt, questioned if it was divine punishment, but the enigmatic guest dismissed such notions with sharp words. Tensions rose, ending with the mysterious visitor being unceremoniously expelled from the manor, his knowledge and warnings left unheard. At a family banquet celebrating his second brother's induction into the prestigious Zhongnan sect, the siblings congratulated the second brother. Glasses were raised in celebration, but one of the brothers noticed that Yinshin was not present. The father explained that he had told Yinshin to stay at the training ground, claiming his presence would bring ill omens to such a joyous occasion. The brother felt saddened upon hearing this. In the training room, Yinshin practiced his martial arts and finally mastered the Zhong clan's movement art. With this technique, his body could grow stronger. However, he wondered, would his lifespan increase as he became stronger? Seeking answers, he spoke with his older brother about martial arts, but was warned not to share his techniques with anyone. When he approached another brother to learn his martial art, his request was declined out of fear of experiencing energy deviation. Finally, Yinshin turned to his father but was scolded harshly for meddling with the clan's exclusive techniques, likening him to a presumptuous clan founder. Confused and speechless, Yinshin never saw himself that way. He simply wanted to be healthy and live a normal life with his family. As Yinshin reflected on these events, he noticed a commotion. People hurried about, excited for the arrival of the martial masters of the Zhongnan sect. The Zhongnan sect, one of the 9 great sects in the world, was regarded as a peerless force, standing alongside the Manhwa sect as the strongest groups in Shaanxi. Yinshin was eager to see them, but had been ordered to stay away. Thinking he might learn something by observing from afar, he decided to sneak a glimpse. At the manor gates, the clan leader and his family waited for the guests. When they finally arrived, an elegant red-haired woman with long ears stepped through the gate, exuding an overwhelming and noble aura. The crowd was awestruck. She was of a mysterious race known for their immortality, often revered by humans as deities. Her energy flowed naturally and powerfully, leaving onlookers in awe. The clan leader greeted her with trembling reverence, apologizing for not recognizing a deity. The noblewoman introduced herself as Yeo Ilshin, an elder of the Zhongnan sect. She accepted the invitation to enter the manor graciously. Yinshin, watching from a distance, was struck by her presence and couldn't help but wonder how long she had lived, being both a noble and an elder of the Zhongnan sect. As she walked, people bowed deeply. When she noticed Yinshin, he immediately showed his respect by bowing. The clan leader introduced him as his third son but apologized, calling Yinshin ill-mannered and a troublemaker. The elder appeared confused at this description, but said nothing. Inspired by the energy radiating from the Zhongnan sect master, Yinshin returned to his training room with renewed determination. He decided it was time to train with a sword, hoping to grow stronger. Meanwhile, Yeo Ilshin and her companion assessed the manor. They noted the abundant earth energy in the area, suspecting the tyrant sword tribe might covet the land. Yeo Ilshin agreed and suggested planning a counterattack, though it would likely mean sacrificing the clan. Her companion proposed preemptively destroying the clan before the enemy breached their defenses. Yeo Ilshin thought it would be ideal if their plan succeeded. Among the 13 skies, the tyrant sword tribe was the most problematic faction. Yeo Ilshin warned her companion not to let their guard down and to keep their sword aura sharp. Despite the situation, her thoughts drifted back to Yinshin, the boy she had noticed earlier, who seemed to stand out among the rest. Meanwhile, Yinshin remained in the training room, questioning why his Baihui acupoint was so open. Although he had been unable to meditate for a year due to his intense focus on mastering the Zhong clan's movement arts, the energy flowing through his crown point had only increased. He realized that, at this rate, he had less than 5 years before losing consciousness entirely, a sign that death was near. Fear gripped him as he contemplated his fate. In an effort to clear his mind, Yinshin left the training room to get some fresh air. Despite having mastered the Zhong clan's movement arts, he couldn't stop the growing imbalance in his energy flow. Suddenly, he sensed an ominous energy nearby. Acting on instinct, he ran toward it. As he drew closer, the metallic scent of blood became overwhelming. He soon stumbled upon a trap formation. Entering cautiously, he froze at the horrifying sight. Everyone inside was dead. These were all members of the Zhong clan. Only a martial master could have committed such carnage. Checking for survivors, Yinshin confirmed that none remained alive. Before he could react further, the attackers noticed him. One of them seemed shocked to see Yinshin alive. "Kill the boy," one of the attackers commanded. Yinshin's gaze hardened, his eyes sharp and unyielding. One of the attackers hesitated, murmuring an apology, claiming he was only following orders. But it was too late. The man launched an attack, and Yinshin reacted with startling speed, grabbing the man's arm and breaking it effortlessly. The attacker screamed in agony, clutching his mangled limb. His comrades looked on in shock as Yinshin began to gather his energy. The bald attacker, now on his knees in pain, stared in disbelief. The remaining attackers prepared themselves for a fight, one of them asking, "Who are you?" Yinshin's voice rang out, firm and resolute. "I am the third son of this clan." Yinshin began walking slowly toward the intruders, his steps resonating with energy. The injured intruder, feeling insulted, tried to attack Yinshin again. However, Yinshin countered swiftly, cutting off the intruder's head. The other intruders stood frozen in shock, unable to react as Yinshin eliminated them one by one. As Yinshin pulled his sword from the body of an attacker, the remaining intruders collapsed simultaneously, a testament to how fast his strikes had been. Although it was his first time training with a delightful sword, Yinshin now understood its mechanics. His blade, dripping with blood, gleamed ominously. Suddenly, he heard a voice commenting on how impressive his skills were. Another group of intruders emerged. Yinshin frowned, observing the newcomers. "Who are you? Are you part of the blood cult?" he asked. One of the intruders answered, "We are from the Tyrant Sword Tribe." Yinshin's eyes widened in surprise. The Tyrant Sword Tribe? Why would the blood cult and the Tyrant Sword Tribe attack our manor? The intruder remained silent, refusing to answer. Yinshin, suspicious of their hesitance, assumed they must know who he was. "You do realize the consequences of attacking the Yinshin clan, a branch of the Desolated Fortress sect, don't you?" Before the intruder could respond, a sudden explosion shook the ground. Yinshin turned toward the source and saw a member of the Zhongnan sect being attacked. At that moment, Yahello flew over Yinshin and landed, slightly disheveled, on her knees. Yinshin's mind raced. What kind of enemy could leave Yahello, an elder of the Zhongnan sect, in such disarray? Just then he felt it, something sinister in the air. A man appeared, floating down from above, exuding an ominous aura that sent chills through Yinshin's spine. The mere eye contact made Yinshin feel lightheaded. One of the intruders addressed the man, calling him tribe leader. The tribe leader of the Tyrant Sword Tribe, the harbinger of disaster in Jianghu, he thought. This was the man who reigned over one of the most dangerous factions of the unorthodox 13 Skies. Why would someone like him attack our clan? Determined to test the tribe leader's intentions, Yinshin rushed forward and attacked one of his minions. Both Yahello and the tribe leader were caught off guard by Yinshin's boldness. "Will you kill me if I take down one of your men?" Yinshin asked, his voice steady and defiant. The tribe leader raised a hand, stopping his minions before they could attack. Instead of anger, a flicker of amusement crossed his face. "Your spirit, it's better than all my men combined." Everyone, including Yahello and the Tyrant Sword Tribe members, was stunned by the tribe leader's words. "I'll let you live," the tribe leader declared. Yinshin, undeterred, picked up his sword and taunted, "Maybe you can't kill me, because I'm the grandson of the former Divine Squad leader of the Desolated Fortress." Yahello turned to him in disbelief. The Desolated Fortress, she thought, created by the Imperial family to counter conspiracies from Murim forces. The tribe leader chuckled, though his gaze darkened. "It's unwise to get involved with the Desolated Fortress, but that's not why I'm sparing you." He paused, his tone turning serious. "I like you. Your spirit and temperament are what the Jianghu needs. If you weren't tied to the Desolated Fortress, I would have taken you as my disciple." Shock rippled through everyone present. Before turning to leave, the tribe leader added, "Leave this manor. From now on, I will not permit any other sect or clan to set foot on your land." Then, with a smirk, he looked at Yinshin one last time. "Find me when you're ready for revenge. I'll always be open to a duel." With that, the Tyrant Sword Tribe departed. Yinshin watched them leave, his gaze sharp and unyielding, determination burning in his eyes. Yinshin looked down at his dying father. His father, struggling to speak, asked, "Why are you so strong?" Yinshin replied, "Because of the Young Clan movement arts, I created and mastered them." His father's eyes widened in shock. "You created martial arts?" He remembered the first time Yinshin mentioned creating techniques based on the clan's cultivation method, and how he had scolded him for meddling with the clan's exclusive arts. Now, in his final moments, he realized how ignorant and foolish he had been. Recognizing Yinshin's genius for the first time, his father whispered, "You have the qualities of a founder." With his last breath, he added, "My son?" As his father passed away, Yinshin stood up and turned to the chief steward. "How is Haya?" he asked, referring to his niece. "She's safe," the steward replied. "She was knocked out by blocking her acupoint and hidden away so the intruders wouldn't find her." Yinshin fell silent for a moment before addressing one of his older brothers. Take her to the Zhongnan sect. Raise her well there. As for me, I'll take care of myself. Yeo Ilshin, standing nearby, called out to Yinshin. Are you leaving now? She asked. I must report this to the Zhongnan sect without delay, especially now that the Tyrant Sword tribe is involved. Yeo Ilshin then asked, Are you heading to the desolate fortress? To your mother's family. Yes, Yinshin replied. I don't have anywhere else to go or grow stronger. Yeo Ilshin suggested, Why not come with me to Zhongnan Mountain? I'll recommend you to become the sect leader's disciple. Her words stunned everyone, including Yinshin. It's possible, she added. If anyone can do it, it's you. If you become a disciple, you'll learn the absolute sacred art. Yinshin bowed deeply. Thank you, Elder Yeo Ilshin, for your great kindness. But I must decline. Yeo Ilshin sighed, understanding his decision. The doors of the Zhongnan sect will always be open for you, she said. Before she left, Yinshin asked, Elder, you're the noble races, aren't you? Do you know how to obtain the fruit of the world tree? Yeo Ilshin was surprised. Are you talking about the world tree that grants eternal life and youth? Yinshin nodded, thinking that the fruit might extend his short lifespan. Yeo Ilshin replied, I haven't lived half as long as you have, but I know that the leader of the desolate fortress has the authority to give the fruit to others. That settled Yinshin's resolve. He had to go to the desolate fortress. It won't be easy, Yeo Ilshin warned. The fruit is sacred, even for the noble races. I have no other way, Yinshin replied. All I can do is become the Divine Sword squad leader and achieve great feats. Yeo Ilshin wished him luck, then left to report to the Zhongnan sect, leaving 2 subordinates behind to help clean up the aftermath. Before departing, one of Yinshin's brothers approached him. An apology won't make up for everything you've endured in this clan, he said, but I'll try to be the brother you deserve. Survive, Yinshin. Yinshin glanced at his niece and reminded his brother to protect her. He then turned to the chief steward. Where will you go? I'll head to the smaller branches of the Jung clan nearby and take care of the remaining clan assets, the steward replied. I hope we can meet again, Yinshin said. Take care of yourself, and I hope you live a comfortable life. The steward, moved, realized it was the first time anyone from the Jung clan had ever wished him comfort. Yinshin then set out alone for the desolate fortress. In the bustling city of Xiangyang, night had fallen, and the streets were alive with activity. The tavern Yinshin entered was crowded and lively. He went upstairs, stood by a table, and looked out at the city. The desolate fortress, truly incredible, he thought. People from all over the Central Plains gathered here, dreaming big. Nearby, a man at another table was loudly talking about the tavern owner striking gold by selling liquor to martial artists taking the entrance exam. An entrance exam? Yinshin thought, surprised. The man, noticing him, Are you here for the exam too? Yinshin asked if Heian was also taking the test. Yes, Heian replied. I forgot to introduce myself properly. I'm Heian Wenchang. What about you? I'm Yinshin from Xingye County, he answered. Heian sat down at Yinshin's table and laughed. Being from nearby must have made your journey easy. Mine was full of hardships, bandits, pirates, you name it. Yinshin calmly replied that he, too, had encountered bandits and slept under the stars but found the journey relatively easy. Heian leaned closer and whispered, How about we become friends and share information about the test? Yinshin blinked. Test? What test? Heian's jaw dropped. You don't know about the desolate fortress trial? He explained that the fortress required candidates to be skilled in martial arts and literature. Once you join, they provide opportunities and training no matter your background. The Desolate Fortress is the strongest martial arts group in the world, where dreams are made. Heian continued rambling, marveling at the fortress and how it outclassed other sections. Let's take the test together tomorrow, Heian said enthusiastically. Okay, Yinshin replied. Surprised by Yinshin's nonchalance, Heian exclaimed, You're so easygoing. Wuchang, being the annoying side character that he is, told Yinshin, Just follow my lead and you'll be fine. Yinshin, already tuning him out, thought to himself how relieved he was that he could join the Desolate Fortress as long as he passed the test. He had no intention of asking his mother's family for help, especially since he didn't even know where they lived or what they looked like. The next day, with the wind blowing the flag above them, Yinshin and his overly chatty companion walked toward the Desolate Fortress, ready to face whatever lay ahead. Yinshin received his exam number, 13. Looking around, he observed the other participants, noting the wide variety of martial artists present. Wenchang began explaining the exam process to him. The first exam is simple, Wenchang said. If the supervisor accepts your plaque, you pass. If they tell you to return to the reception, you're out. The second exam is a tournament. Yinshin asked, is there a third exam? Wen Chang paused, thinking hard. Oh yes, the third exam is an interview with the Desolate Fortress Lord. Yinshin was surprised. An interview? There are martial artists who come to Shanyang just for a chance to meet him, Wen Chang explained. A conversation with an absolute master like the Fortress Lord is an incredible opportunity. Many hope to gain some profound insight or understanding from it. Yinshin nodded, understanding the significance. The supervisor then announced the first exam, Swift Sword Arts. The participants were to demonstrate a single, fast sword technique while the supervisor judged their skill. Wen Chang, eager and nervous, shouted, I'll go first. The supervisor nodded, and Wen Chang stepped forward, gripping his sword tightly. Yinshin observed him carefully, noting that Wen Chang was stronger than the vagabonds he encountered on his way to the fortress. With a sharp concentration, Wen Chang swiftly drew his sword. Some participants gasped, claiming they only saw an apparition of his blade. Wen Chang stood, waiting anxiously for the result. The supervisor nodded approvingly. Not bad. Hand over your plaque. Wen Chang's eyes lit up with excitement. He thanked the supervisor profusely before stepping aside. As the next examinee was called, Wen Chang turned to Yinshin. Good luck, he said with a proud grin. Yinshin decided to go next. As he walked toward the examiner, murmurs filled the air. Is he an examinee? He looks so young. Yinshin stopped in front of the examiner, and they exchanged nods. The examiner gave the signal to begin. Without hesitation, Yinshin unleashed his swift sword technique. At first, it seemed as if nothing had happened, but a sudden burst of wind and energy erupted, stunning the crowd. The examiner's eyes widened in shock. Some onlookers whispered in disbelief. Did he even draw his sword? The examiner recovered and declared, the future of the Desolate Fortress is right here. Gasps rippled through the audience. The examiner requested Yinshin's plaque, studying the number as if committing it to memory. Yinshin had passed the first exam. As Yinshin donned his cape and walked out, everyone's eyes were on him. Wen Chang ran up to him. Are you the son of some famous family? Yinshin replied calmly. Does it matter? Once you enter the Desolate Fortress, only your martial arts, talent, and effort count. Wen Chang blinked, processing Yinshin's words, then bowed deeply. You're right. Thank you for reminding me. The two parted ways, and Yinshin hoped Wen Chang would pass the second exam. In his room, Yinshin meditated, preparing himself for the upcoming tournament. With 3 weeks until the next exam, he resolved to train relentlessly. He practiced the young clan's movement art, rapid sword techniques, and the scripture of the origin, an advanced chi amplification technique. 3 weeks later, the tournament day arrived. Participants gathered, sizing each other up. Yinshin overheard someone whisper, a white martial arts outfit usually signifies an elementary level, but how does that guy's energy feel so strong? Wen Chang greeted Yinshin enthusiastically. Lord Young, you've gotten taller. Yinshin smiled. You look better too. Wen Chang grinned proudly. I've accomplished a lot these past weeks. Then, with a serious expression, he warned Yinshin, winning isn't the most important thing in this exam. Even if you lose one match, catching the eye of a Desolate Fortress Master could be enough to pass. But that's also the hardest part. He lowered his voice. I heard the White Qilin is competing today. Yinshin raised an eyebrow. The White Qilin? Wen Chang nodded. He wiped out a notorious bandit group before he was 15 and beheaded the sword masters of the unorthodox faction, the Shrouded Assassins. Rumor has it he even defeated all the rising stars at the 8 Great Families Dragon and Phoenix tournament when he was just 18. Then what could he possibly lack? Yinshin wondered aloud. Why would he join the Desolate Fortress? Wen Chang whispered, because he's a child of a concubine. He can't become a patriarch. But if he rises to the rank of a Desolate Fortress Lord's captain, that's like being a patriarch of the 8 Great Families, and maybe even more powerful. Yinshin nodded thoughtfully. When the examiner called for Yinshin, he told Wen Chang that he hoped to see him again in the Desolate Fortress. Wen Chang looked at Yinshin, his expression filled with confusion. In the exam room, Yinshin faced his opponent as members of the Desolate Fortress observed. The examiner signaled for the fight to begin. Yinshin's opponent smirked and began monologuing. Yinshin, uninterested in the theatrics, struck decisively. His opponent collapsed instantly, his eyes wide open and tongue hanging out. Yinshin blinked in confusion, unsure of what had just happened. Yinshin watched as his opponent was dragged away from the arena. The other participants glanced at him, their gazes filled with curiosity and unease. One of them smiled and stepped forward, issuing a challenge. Their eyes locked, the atmosphere between them charged with tension. From the audience, someone murmured finally, Excitement rippled through the crowd as they speculated whether the squad leader would step in to recruit Yinshin. Yinshin's eyes widened in shock when the examiner announced his challenger's name, Namgung, the White Qilin. Whispers filled the room, with spectators wondering if they were about to witness the legendary boundless technique in action. Yinshin studied Namgung, noting that he appeared about 5 years older. While Yinshin's family's martial arts gave him an edge in physical fitness, he knew he fell short in other aspects compared to the renowned Namgung. Namgung bowed politely and introduced himself, drawing his sword with fluid grace. Yinshin reciprocated with a respectful bow and introduced himself as well, gripping his own sword and taking a stance. Namgung maintained his calm demeanor, waiting patiently for Yinshin to make the first move. As the examiner gave the signal to begin, Yinshin exploded into action, launching a swift attack. However, as his strike connected, his sword shattered in two. The sharp clang of metal hitting the ground echoed in the stunned silence. Yinshin stared at the broken remains of his sword, confused by the outcome. Many in the crowd assumed Namgung had won the bout, but those from the desolate fortress and Namgung himself saw it differently. Lowering his sword, Namgung declared calmly, "It's my loss." The statement left Yinshin, the audience, and the other participants equally baffled. Yet, the members of the desolate fortress nodded knowingly. They recognized Yinshin as a hidden martial prodigy and felt a growing apprehension about his potential. The examiner gestured for Yinshin to move on to the next area. Bowing deeply, Yinshin thanked Namgung, expressing his hope that they could duel again someday. Namgung shared the sentiment. Entering the next waiting area, Yinshin found himself the center of attention once more. Other participants sized him up, whispering in disbelief about the young fighter who had defeated Namgung. Yinshin, however, remained deep in thought. He had known he couldn't win outright, which is why he had executed his most extreme technique at the duel's start. But Namgung's energy-infused sword had shattered his blade, leaving Yinshin convinced of his failure. Yet, Namgung's admission of defeat puzzled him. Perhaps it was the nobility and honor instilled in members of a renowned family like Namgung's. Reflecting on the duel, Yinshin stared at his broken sword. He began experimenting, trying to replicate the energy infusion Namgung had demonstrated. Slowly, he started to grasp the concept of imbuing his sword with energy. Unaware of his surroundings, Yinshin practiced, drawing the attention of other examinees. They watched in awe as Yinshin achieved sword resonance, a feat considered extraordinary for someone his age. Moments later, Yinshin accomplished what many deemed impossible: body-sword unification. The onlookers could only marvel at the young martial artist, whose talent promised to reshape the very foundation of the desolate fortress. Yinshin smiled, pleased that he was able to understand the technique. Namgung congratulated him on his enlightenment. Yinshin, still a bit confused, realized that Namgung had been protecting him during his moment of concentration. He thanked Namgung for the protection and congratulated him on passing the trial. Namgung was momentarily surprised, then laughed warmly. From a distance, Wonchong waved enthusiastically at Yinshin to let him know he was there. Yinshin returned the smile. Wonchong hurried over, brimming with excitement, and announced that he had been given a nickname. Yinshin looked puzzled, prompting Wonchong to explain. When someone demonstrates exceptional martial prowess or attracts attention, people give them a nickname, which is considered a great honor and less associated with evil deeds. Wonchong added examples like Cliff's Swordsman, Neutral Spirit Fist, and White Qilin. Namgung chimed in, saying he'd heard about it too. Yinshin frowned, wondering aloud why anyone would give him a nickname since all he did was participate in the trial. Namgung revealed the name, Lightning Genius. Yinshin was stunned. Even the desolate fortress martial artists were calling him that. Yinshin, however, thought they were mocking him for being a young swordsman with a bit of speed. Namgung and Wonchong exchanged amused looks, teasing him by implying that his nickname suggested they were slow by comparison. Yinshin couldn't believe he'd earned a nickname during the trial. The examiner announced there was only one more trial, and if they passed, they would officially join the desolate fortress. Yinshin looked toward the fortress, a living piece of history and home to some of the strongest martial masters, perhaps even the strongest of them all. He couldn't wait to meet the fortress leader. One of the examinees entered the trial room, and sometime later emerged looking utterly exhausted. The onlookers whispered, speculating about the nature of the final trial. One after another, examinees exited the trial room with similar expressions of fatigue. Then, Yinshin's name was called. As Yinshin entered the trial room, he took in his surroundings. The chamber was unexpectedly filled with vibrant plants, their presence contrasting with the room's austere atmosphere. When Yinshin finally saw the fortress leader, he noticed her distinct noble features. The leader studied Yinshin for a moment before remarking, "So, you're that child's bloodline." Confused, Yinshin asked what she meant by bloodline. He wondered if the leader knew his mother's family. The leader seemed to assume Yinshin already understood and found his boldness intriguing. She waited for him to speak. Yinshin explained that he was the grandson of the former Divine Sword Squad leader. The leader nodded and informed him that his grandfather was soon to join the Elder Council. She then noticed a wound on Yinshin and asked about it. Yinshin brushed it off, calling it a trivial family matter. The leader, however, disagreed. Though the wounds were concealed by Yinshin's well-trained body, she understood that it was not her place to pry into family affairs. Yinshin apologized. The leader stood and told Yinshin that she liked him. She found it fascinating that he didn't bow to anyone, even though he clearly desired something. At that moment, Yinshin realized that the leader already knew about his abnormal upper meridian and the wide opening of his Baihui acupoint. He decided to ask her directly, "Can someone like me survive if I eat the fruit of the world tree?" The leader's expression shifted slightly. She explained that while the legends surrounding it weren't entirely accurate, it was indeed possible for Yinshin to achieve his goal. Relieved, Yinshin asked if he could obtain the fruit. The leader replied that it would depend on what he accomplished. Satisfied, Yinshin thanked the leader, though he remained cautious. As he turned to leave, a thought struck him. He paused and asked the most important question: "Did I pass the trial?" The leader smiled and confirmed it, officially welcoming him as a member of the Desolate Fortress. She even called him the next Divine Sword Squad leader. For a brief moment, their eyes met, as though they both understood something unspoken. Yinshin left the chamber deep in thought, wondering if the leader had been teasing him or if she genuinely saw potential in him. As he stepped outside, he glanced back at the leader's chamber, considering her parting words. Perhaps she was hinting that becoming the Divine Sword Squad leader was the key to obtaining the fruit of the world tree. Only 4 passed the trial, and they are following one of the supervisors. The supervisor asked them if they knew what kind of work the Desolate Fortress does. Wanchong proudly answered that the Desolate Fortress stops Murim's martial masters from overthrowing the imperial family. The supervisor agreed with Wanchong but clarified that this is not their main responsibility. It is just one of the major tasks they handle. They also prevent or suppress conflicts of a certain scale from happening in Jianghu. Yinshin and the others silently listened as the supervisor added that no one can predict what might happen when a fight breaks out in Murim. Vicious martial artists don't care about the collateral damage they cause to other martial artists or commoners. The supervisor explained that, in such hellish sights, the empire becomes unrecognizable. The supervisor continued, mentioning the disaster of the Heavenly Demon's grave that occurred 17 years ago. They explained that the unorthodox sects and the demonic faction aren't the only problems. All orthodox groups, including the 9 great sects and the 8 great clans, could also become threats. If left unchecked, the people would suffer. Unrest among the people and unpaid taxes would, in turn, cause problems for the empire's reign. This is why the imperial family provides the Desolate Fortress with a substantial amount of money, elixirs, manuals, and martial masters. The supervisor concluded that this is the role for all who pass the trial, to stop any martial artist who disrupts the lives of ordinary people. The supervisor showed them where they will be staying and wished them good luck. It had been a week since the trial, and Yinshin was being assigned later than he had expected. A man knocked on Yinshin's door, asking to enter. Yinshin allowed him in. It was Wanchong. Wanchong informed Yinshin that they were being assigned to the Radiant Demon Squad, a combat squad. Wanchong excitedly asked Yinshin if he had heard the rumors about the 17 combat squad captains under the Divine Sword Squad fighting each other to take in new warriors. Yinshin wondered aloud, weren't the combat squad captains the martial masters who represented the Desolate Fortress? It turned out the captains had sparred to recruit the White Qilin and Yinshin, the lightning genius. The night passed in silence. The next day, at the Radiant Demon Squad's arena, Wanchong was in a cheerful mood as he admired his new white uniform. Members of the Desolate Fortress watched them curiously. The squad captain, Ma Jin, approached with a serious expression. He looked directly at Yinshin and asked if he was the lightning genius. Yinshin answered confidently, yes. The squad captain smiled, impressed by Yinshin's lack of intimidation. He complimented Yinshin, saying that people like him, those with backbone, don't die easily. The captain explained that the two of them would learn martial arts in the Radiant Demon Squad and execute missions. He also emphasized that everyone else in the squad was their senior. Wanchong raised his hand with a question. He wanted to know if everyone in the Radiant Demon Squad shared their martial arts techniques. The captain clarified that martial arts learned individually belonged to the individual, while only the martial arts of the Radiant Demon Squad would be taught to them. Wanchong was thrilled at the thought of learning the squad's martial arts. Yinshin recalled hearing that the Radiant Demon Squad was one of the most famous among the 17 squads because they had fought the Plum Blossom Swordsmen, the 24 elite swordsmen of the Manhwa sect, without sustaining any casualties. That incident gave further credence to rumors that the Desolate Fortress was the strongest organization in the world. Although the Desolate Fortress was affiliated with the imperial family, attacking one of its martial artists did not constitute treason. This fact underscored the need for its members to continually grow stronger. Yinshin asked the squad captain why such attacks weren't considered treason. The captain explained that there were many eccentrics in Jianghu. Some had lost their minds from learning demonic arts, while others, exceptionally skilled in mobility arts, could wreak havoc on government officials before escaping to the high mountains and deep valleys. Because of this, the dignity of the imperial family didn't apply to the Desolate Fortress. Their job wasn't to govern, but to fight martial artists. Therefore, if they didn't become stronger, they would die. The squad captain pointed to one of the men and explained that he had been slashed by Namgung's strongest swordsman during a mission. The captain suggested that this man could give Yinshin and Wenchang a better understanding of what to expect. The man stepped forward, recalling how terrifying the king's sword style was. Yinshin was amazed that the man had survived such an encounter. The man stood and approached Yinshin, expressing his desire to test both newcomers, starting with Yinshin. Yinshin moved to his position, held his sword, and began generating energy. The onlookers gasped. The man smiled, drew his sword, and introduced himself as Chung Myung, born and raised in Chang'an. Yinshin introduced himself in return, ready for the test. Myung and Yinshin ready themselves. Myung explains to Yinshin that you can feel the wind being produced, even if it's a 10-year-old kid using the tri-sword technique. That's why, while fighting, you can figure out how someone swings their sword. Myung wanted to see that talent. Everyone gasped as they watched Yinshin use sword resonance. Myung smiled while Yinshin focused. Yinshin could feel his opponent using energy detection. Yinshin sensed it was time to attack Myung. He used swift sword arts but was blocked by Myung. Yinshin was surprised by Myung's block and didn't notice when Myung raised his sword. Yinshin transferred his energy to his right foot to halt his speed. Myung attacked, but Yinshin dodged and immediately twisted his foot to counter. However, Myung was able to block Yinshin's attack, even from an awkward position. Myung looked at Yinshin and then suddenly disappeared. Yinshin felt Myung coming to attack. Myung reappeared behind Yinshin, but Yinshin managed to dodge the attack and counter at the same time. Myung leapt into the air to avoid Yinshin's counter, but Yinshin's attack hit Myung's bandana, revealing that Myung was of noble race. Everyone watching couldn't believe what had just happened. Yinshin now understood why Myung moved so fast. Yinshin prepared to make his next move but noticed that everyone was staring at him and Yinshin wondered why they were making such faces. Yinshin asked Myung what he thought of his skills. Myung hadn't expected Yinshin to ask that question. Yinshin knew that Myung had gone easy on him, so he wanted Myung to give an honest assessment. Myung stuttered, unsure how to answer Yinshin's question, and instead asked how old Yinshin was. Yinshin replied that he was 15 years old and asked why that mattered. Myung was shocked to hear that Yinshin was only 15. Everyone was amazed by Yinshin. One of the seniors commented that his talent was abnormal. Everyone had something to say about Yinshin. The look on Wenchang's face said it all, while the squad captain's face remained serious. Myung smiled while Yinshin looked confused. Outside the training hall, everyone was laughing at Wenchang. The squad captain commended Wenchang for surviving the training. The squad captain looked at Yinshin. Yinshin was able to understand that the crux of the steps taught by the squad captain was to think and act in a seamless manner. The squad captain agreed with Yinshin and explained that the true crux of the radiant demon arts is to move seamlessly without disrupting the path of the attack. They must understand the deeper meaning of the path of attacks. Yinshin and Wenchang looked at the squad captain, wondering what he meant by the deeper meaning of the path of attack. The squad captain decided it would be faster to show them. He asked them to watch carefully as he demonstrated. Energy surged from the squad captain. Then he relaxed and struck. The concrete lantern crumbled to the ground. Everyone was amazed. The squad captain explained that the strongest attack delivered at the perfect timing is the path of the attack. If they follow a perfect path of attack, the most powerful strike will be unleashed. Yinshin figured out that they needed to grasp the timing of unleashing their strength. Although it was shown to both of them, the squad captain wasn't expecting them to master it immediately, as it isn't something that can be perfected after seeing it once. It's a skill they will have to learn over their entire lives. Yinshin's eyes widened as he felt he could do it right now. The squad captain watched Yinshin as he walked toward the concrete lantern, wondering if Yinshin was planning to try it. Yinshin closed his eyes and performed body and sword unification, slowly relaxing. Yinshin opened his eyes and saw the path. He struck the weak point of the lantern with the tip of his sword. The concrete lantern slowly crumbled to the ground. Yinshin understood the deeper meaning of the path of attacks. Yinshin looked at the squad captain. Everyone was silent, their mouths hanging open. The squad leader looked angry. Yinshin realized he had shown an unsightly side of himself and admitted that he still needed to experience many more real fights before he could use the skill properly. Yinshin showed his respect to the squad captain by bowing. The squad captain didn't know how to react. He now had to think about how to teach Yinshin moving forward. The next day, members of the Desolate Fortress were talking about their seniors fighting with a heavenly squad. Wenchang walked toward Yinshin and sat beside him. Yinshin asked Wenchang if he thought the Desolate Fortress was strict with its rules. He remembered that fighting outside of training grounds was a punishable offense for all martial artists of the Desolate Fortress. Yinshin wondered why they fought. Wenchang explained that one of the heavenly squad members had picked a fight at a restaurant. Wenchang thought someone said something along the lines of Yinshin's talent wouldn't be able to blossom within the Radiant Demon Squad. Yinshin, with a confused face, couldn't believe they fought over something like that. Wenchang explained that this was the true face of Murim. Small things could provoke someone to raise their swords against you. Wenchang thought it was better this way, thinking it was amusing that the seniors of the Desolate Fortress were angry over a newbie. Wenchang wasn't sure how he would feel if it were him. But Yinshin thought they were angry because someone insulted the Radiant Demon Squad. Yinshin saw this as an opportunity. If he wanted to get the fruit of the world tree, he needed to accomplish something. Yinshin knew he'd need help from others. Yinshin stood up, thinking Wenchang was right, that the seniors were fighting because of him. Yinshin decided to pay them a visit. Wenchang rooted for Yinshin. When they arrived at the training hall, everyone looked at Yinshin. One of the seniors said that there were no lessons today, yet the newbie came to train. Yinshin and Wenchang greeted the squad captain. The captain asked if the two had run into any problems. Yinshin asked the captain if he wanted to spar. The captain told Yinshin to choose anyone from the team to spar with. But Yinshin wanted to spar with the heavenly squad. Everyone was surprised. The captain realized that Yinshin had heard about what happened and advised him not to think about it. But Yinshin wanted to see the heavenly sword arts, which he had admired for a long time. The captain thought Yinshin was too agitated. Yinshin explained that he wanted to show that the radiant demon arts were great martial arts. By doing this, Yinshin could gain fighting experience, observe advanced martial techniques, and leave a good impression on his seniors. The captain was still not convinced, thinking the heavenly squad wouldn't go easy on Yinshin. With burning determination, Yinshin said to the captain that was exactly what he was hoping for. The seniors were shocked and rooted for Yinshin's request. The captain was forced to agree with Yinshin and promised to pass the message to the heavenly squad. Yinshin's face lit with excitement. In the arena, Yinshin is now facing one of the heavenly squad seniors. The spectators can't wait for the fight to start. They are speculating how long Yinshin will last. Someone says the longest he can last is 10 bouts. Others disagree, pointing out that Yinshin is still a white robe fighting against a blue robe, a higher rank than him. Yinshin and his opponent are waiting for the signal. Both captains of the squads look serious. The captain of the heavenly squad starts betting, saying that if Yinshin lasts 10 bouts, he will give Yinshin one of their elixirs. The demon squad captain thinks it's too much, but the heavenly squad leader teases him, calling him scared. The demon squad captain agrees, though he already believes Yinshin will win. Yinshin introduces himself to the blue-robed warrior. His opponent begins monologuing, explaining his style and declaring that he will not show mercy in this duel. Yinshin simply replies, "All right." Yinshin's opponent readies his sword, emitting blue energy. His aura surges. The heavenly squad smiles, confident that victory is assured. Yinshin waits, wondering what kind of sword style his opponent will use. He pulls out his sword. His opponent lets Yinshin make the first move. Yinshin dashes forward and strikes his opponent, immediately preparing for a second attack, but it is blocked. Yinshin sends a barrage of sword strikes at his opponent. The heavenly squad captain can't believe the speed of Yinshin's attacks. Yinshin continues his relentless assault. His opponent can do nothing but guard. Yinshin has grown stronger since training his body with the Young Clan's martial arts. After attacking, Yinshin twists his foot with energy to create rotational force, making his strikes even more powerful. Everyone can't believe that the blue robe is being pushed back by a white robe. During this sparring, Yinshin learns another move. His opponent is unable to withstand Yinshin's attacks and loses his sword. Yinshin points his sword at his opponent's neck. His opponent admits defeat. The demon squad captain smiles while the heavenly squad captain sweats over his members' loss. Everyone is in disbelief that a white robe has defeated a blue robe. Yinshin thanks his seniors and humbly states that he got lucky. His seniors smile as they retrieve his opponent's sword. The blue-robed warrior, surprised by Yinshin's sword trajectory and rotational force, praises him for possessing such martial prowess at a young age. The Heavenly Squad Senior walks away from the arena, smiling. The Demon Squad Captain raises his hand, reminding the Heavenly Squad Captain about the elixir he promised. Yinshin feels relieved after winning the bout. The Demon Squad Captain calls Yinshin over and hands him the elixir. Yinshin catches the box and opens it. The Demon Squad Captain smirks as Yinshin opens the box to reveal the elixir he won. The Demon Squad Blue Robe is guarding outside the pavilion. Beck Mirio, one of the Blue Robes of the Demon Squad, thinks that Yinshin is such a monster. To think that Yinshin could defeat a Blue Robe from the Heavenly Squad. Myung, one of Yinshin's seniors, believe that Yinshin possesses a talent they have never seen before. Mirio noticed that Yinshin was somehow able to apply the same principles of martial arts in different postures. The way Yinshin executes these moves is more precise than expected. Because of this, Mirio hesitates to show her exclusive martial arts in front of Yinshin, fearing his innate talent for reinterpreting martial arts. Myung agrees, saying that Yinshin is indeed a monster when it comes to that. Inside the room, Yinshin is sitting while the squad captain watches over him. The captain is guiding Yinshin as he absorbs the elixir. The captain warns Yinshin not to be reckless, as it could damage his core or blood vessels. The captain assures Yinshin that he will monitor the process and step in to help if the energy circulation becomes unstable. Yinshin swallows the elixir and immediately feels a surge of energy as it enters his body. The energy begins to build and surge from Yinshin's body. The squad captain carefully observes Yinshin throughout the process. The Blue Robes guarding the room outside sense the energy and realize that Yinshin has started absorbing the elixir. The sun sets, and Yinshin is still absorbing the elixir. The captain notices that even though it's Yinshin's first time absorbing an elixir, he is circulating the energy naturally. As the energy begins to dissipate, Yinshin can still see the residual energy of the elixir in his hands. The squad captain congratulates Yinshin for completely absorbing the elixir. He didn't expect Yinshin to successfully absorb the entire elixir without assistance. Now that Yinshin has more energy, he becomes aware of the presence of his seniors surrounding the area. Yinshin didn't realize that the seniors were protecting him while he absorbed the elixir. Yinshin asked his captain why everyone is being so nice to him. The captain explains that this level of support is offered to everyone in the Radiant Demon Squad, not just him. He adds that camaraderie becomes natural when one risks their life alongside comrades in Jianghu. The stronger Yinshin becomes, the better it is for the Radiant Demon Squad. Yinshin understands what the squad captain is trying to convey. Later that night, Yinshin is meditating in his room. Now that he has more energy, he decides to test how much stronger his martial arts have become. He heads to the training hall. Mirio calls out to Yinshin and asks if he came to the training ground to train. Mirio mentions that she learned something after watching Yinshin fight. She then asks Yinshin to spar with her so she can show him a move. Yinshin agrees, excited by the rare chance to spar with someone. They both take their positions, and Mirio signals the start. Yinshin swiftly strikes at Mirio, but Mirio grabs Yinshin's hand and strikes him in the stomach. She prepares for another attack, and though Yinshin readies himself to block, Mirio's attack is too strong. Mirio commends Yinshin, remarking that he truly is scary. Yinshin realizes that Mirio used a 1-inch strike, a technique particularly effective in close combat. Mirio explains that to deal with energies mixed in the body, one must destroy the protective energy. After using core energy in a burst discharge to increase tension, the 1-inch strike becomes significantly more effective. Yinshin notices something and asks if he can share his thoughts, even though he is new to the squad. Mirio allows him to speak. Yinshin explains that he has been sensitive to energy since he was young, and he noticed the way Mirio used her core energy, which caught his attention. Mirio is surprised that Yinshin could see her core energy. Yinshin explained that he couldn't see the core energy within her body. He was only able to see the flow of the burst discharge and the waves of core energy that were generated externally. Mirio still wouldn't believe him because even Purple Robe Martial Masters don't possess energy detection skills at that level. The ranking in the Desolate Fortress hierarchy is based on robe colors. White, blue, black, and Purple Robe Martial Masters are at the top. However, since Yinshin said it, Mirio decided to listen to his advice. Yinshin also added that Mirio's palm strike is more suited for a puncturing technique rather than a 1-inch strike. It would be far more powerful if she used it with a puncturing technique. Mirio got offended, feeling insulted as if she couldn't grasp something as simple as a puncturing technique. Yinshin quickly apologized for his comment. Mirio, in turn, apologized as well and thanked Yinshin before walking away. Later, Mirio went to the squad captain's office to ask if the captain had told Yinshin about the origins of her martial arts. The captain assured her that he hadn't revealed anything that important to Yinshin. Mirio wondered how Yinshin had figured it out. The captain asked if Yinshin had realized that Mirio had tweaked the lost martial arts of the heavenly demon's sacred arts. Mirio confirmed that it seemed so. The captain smirked, acknowledging that Yinshin is special and that individuals like him rarely appear in Jianghu. Mirio looked doubtful and asked if the captain was certain that Yinshin was extraordinary. The captain confidently stated that Yinshin is the future of the desolate fortress. The captain advised Mirio not to underestimate Yinshin's advice and suggested she discuss her techniques with him, as he possesses the qualities of a martial arts founder. Mirio looked confused, but the captain explained that a small mission had been issued, and he wanted Mirio to accompany Yinshin to observe how he overcomes life-and-death situations. The captain believed this would help confirm if Yinshin was truly special. He predicted that within 5 years, Yinshin would become the next captain of the Radiant Demon Squad. The next day, Yinshin and the others rode on horseback for the mission. They stopped at a stage station, where Wenchang complained about having ridden for 10 days straight. Before the mission began, the captain had briefed them on the details. There had been an incident involving the Manhwa sect's stolen elixir, which escalated to affect the entire Shanxi region. Lacking manpower, they had requested assistance from the desolate fortress. The captain assigned Yinshin's group to handle the situation. Yinshin couldn't stop thinking about the Blood Flame cult, the group that had attacked his home. At the station, a government official complained about the desolate fortress being late. He insulted them, saying they had sent children to do a man's job. Yinshin looked at Myung, confused about what the man was talking about. Myung explained that the officials were ignorant and should be ignored. The official, feeling insulted, continued to grumble. Yinshin considered muting the man by blocking his mute acupoint. Myung gave him permission to proceed. Yinshin acted swiftly, muting the official and making it clear that they did not take orders from him. As the team continued toward their destination, Myung put a hand on Yinshin's shoulder and explained that Murim and the government typically do not interfere with each other. As they traveled further, Wenchang noticed something unusual in a nearby village. A man with red hair was holding a sword and a baby. Yinshin immediately recognized the man as a Blood Flame cultist and, without hesitation, ran toward him. Yinshin noticed that Myung was faster than him. Myung was using the Noble Race mobility skill. Mirio was also faster than Yinshin, as was Wenchang. Yinshin knew that his lack of mobility arts training would put him at a huge disadvantage. The cultist struck one of the farmers, but Myung quickly jumped in to attack. The cultist managed to block Myung's attack. However, while raising his guard, the cultist realized he had lost the baby. Myung had snatched the baby from him in a split second. The cultist recognized them as members of the desolate fortress. When he saw Mirio closing in on him, he charged forward and leapt away from them. Mirio and Myung were surprised. It seemed the cultist had sacrificed his own life to achieve that level of speed. Mirio glanced at Yinshin and Wenchang, who were catching their breath. While they rested, Mirio scolded them for lacking stamina. She noticed that Yinshin seemed disappointed by his lack of mobility skills. Mirio reassured him, explaining that he had done great relying solely on his physical abilities. Myung looked at Yinshin and asked if he wanted to learn mobility skills from him. Yinshin, surprised, confirmed if he had heard correctly. Myung explained that he could teach Yinshin mobility arts but not his household martial arts, which were exclusive to the noble race. However, Myung believed Yinshin would be able to learn the mobility arts he planned to teach. Myung warned Yinshin that no one in the Radiant Demon Squad had been able to learn these arts. Myung gathered energy in his feet and demonstrated the mobility arts to Yinshin. Yinshin observed intently as Myung's footsteps became light and imperceptible. Myung's movements were so subtle that Yinshin couldn't sense his presence. Myung leapt down from a tree, moving as gracefully as a falling leaf. Yinshin watched carefully and managed to grasp the concept without relying on the noble race's authority. Myung looked concerned, unable to believe that Yinshin had discerned the energy of nature just by watching once. Everyone went silent, awestruck by Yinshin's ability. Thanks to Myung's demonstration, Yinshin now had an idea of how to use mobility arts. He recalled what Myung had shown him and tried to apply it. Myung watched as Yinshin began focusing his energy on his feet. To Myung's astonishment, Yinshin successfully started using the mobility arts. The next morning, as the birds ate the worms, Wenchang was practicing. He couldn't believe that they had only been in the desolate fortress for a month, and yet Yinshin had already learned the noble race mobility art. Myung explained that no one could deny the fact that Yinshin possessed the qualities of a martial arts founder. Mirio recalled what the squad captain had told her, to observe for herself if Yianshin was someone worthy of becoming her superior. Chong questioned whether it was okay to send Yianshin alone to scout. Mirio thought it was fine since it was just a reconnaissance mission. Meanwhile, Yianshin was running through the forest, practicing what he had just learned. He felt lighter, and the speed of his mobility had increased significantly. As he scouted, Yianshin finally discovered the cultist hideout. He prepared to return and inform the others. Then Yianshin noticed one of the cultists drinking the blood of a child. Filled with anger, Yianshin confronted the cultist. The cultist dropped the child and grabbed his sword. Recognizing Yianshin's desolate fortress attire, the cultist laughed, amused that Yianshin appeared to be alone. Without a word, Yianshin struck in a single swift motion, decapitating the cultist. Yianshin checked on the child, memories of his own family flashing through his mind. Resolute, Yianshin decided to eliminate the remaining cultists. Furious, Yianshin charged his sword with energy and unleashed the radiant demon art, swift sword style. His strike cut through the house, splitting it in half and hitting one of the cultists inside. Another cultist, caught by surprise, tried to react, but Yianshin leapt in and swiftly attacked. Yianshin noticed a tunnel nearby and sensed a much stronger energy emanating from within. He realized this wasn't just a simple hideout, it was a branch of the Blood Flame cult. As Yianshin walked toward the tunnel, more cultists emerged. They charged at him without hesitation. Yianshin swiftly attacked, striking each cultist with precision, felling them all with single strokes. Then he felt an ominous aura coming from deeper within the tunnel. Yianshin sensed that the final cultist was on a completely different level. This man had reached the stage of refining core energy, a sign that he was the branch leader. The cultist leader slowly drew his sword, the tension in the air growing thick. The Blood Flame cult branch leader is like a death god, and there aren't many martial masters who possess the prowess to kill them. The cultist looked at Yianshin. Yianshin used the same move he had used during his sparring with a blue-robed senior. The cult leader blocked Yianshin's strike. Yianshin used his mobility skill and rushed in for a second strike, attacking the cult leader again. The cult leader seemed to be enjoying the fight. As Yianshin attacked, memories of his family flashed through his mind. After the cult leader blocked his last strike, Yianshin grabbed the leader's arm, channeling energy to twist and break it. Furious, the cult leader retaliated with his left hand, unleashing blood energy. Yianshin countered swiftly, severing the cult leader's left hand, which flew through the air. With one final strike, Yianshin ended the cult leader's life. Pulling his sword free, Yianshin watched as the cult leader dropped to his knees and fell dead. Sighing in relief, Yianshin noticed a pit nearby. Upon checking it, he discovered the bodies of the dead villagers. As the sun set, Yianshin arrived at the tavern. Everyone was stunned to see Yianshin carrying a child. He asked Chong to help him with the child, who was still alive. Mirio asked Yianshin if he was alright, but he clarified that the blood on his robe wasn't his, it was from the Blood Flame cult branch. Mirio was relieved that Yianshin was safe, but then she realized the gravity of what Yianshin had accomplished. They were shocked to learn that Yianshin had discovered a branch of the Blood Flame cult, and that there had been a cultist with red and black hair among them. Mirio explained that if the cultist had red and black hair, he must have been a Bloodmaster swordsman, confirming that Yianshin had truly found their branch. Myung picked up his sword, preparing to raid the Blood Flame cult branch. He commended Yianshin for his incredible feat and urged him to rest while he and Mirio handled the cleanup. However, Yianshin stopped them, explaining that there was no need for them to go. Instead, they should get the government to help the victims. Mirio looked at Yianshin, confused. Chong didn't understand either. Mirio asked Yianshin if he had defeated all of the cultists, including the Bloodmaster swordsman, by himself. Yianshin simply answered that he had killed them all. Myung and Mirio were stunned. Myung asked Yianshin again if he had single-handedly destroyed a Blood Flame cult branch. Yianshin explained that the mobility art Myung had taught him had helped a lot. Myung and Mirio exchanged incredulous glances and pointed at Yianshin, silently thinking, "Can you believe this guy?" Mirio then explained that Bloodmaster swordsmen have strange regenerative abilities. She asked how Yianshin managed to defeat him. Yianshin pulled something out and placed it on the table. It was the head of the cult branch leader. Yianshin admitted that he hadn't known about their regenerative abilities. Myung and Mirio were speechless as they stared at the severed head on the table. While Yianshin pondered how dangerous the regeneration could have been, Myung couldn't help but smile. Alright, that's a wrap for today's video. Thanks so much for watching, and as always, stay awesome, keep reading, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.